So you want to get into politics, but you're not sure if you want to do municipal, provincial, or federal. We're going to break all that down today on Black Ram TV's podcast, Gaining Ground. My name is Daniela Beasant, and I am Chief Strategist and Creative Director of Black Ram Media Group. And we do a lot of work in politics, and we run social media campaigns for politicians, communication campaigns, campaign management, although I don't like doing campaign management, frankly, so I don't push that part, but we have done it. And, so we've done all sorts of things politically on every single level. We've done provincial campaigns, federal campaigns, municipal campaigns. We've done it all. So I could give you a really good insight into what to expect if you want to get into politics at any level. So let's decide which way you should go. Well, sometimes municipal politics is the entry level to provincial and federal, and it's certainly a great place to get noticed. So when we talk about provincial politics, we're going to look at it in this discussion mostly as a stepping stone and not the end goal. However, that is not to say that municipal politics isn't enough for many, many people. So for those of them, people that are really community minded and they're very localized in their thinking and in their interest level, municipal politics would be the way to go. And you could be very successful as a city councillor. The thing is that in most cities and towns, you won't make enough as a city councillor for that to be a full-time job. So you'll have to have another gig. So if public service is what you really want to do full-time, you're going to have to set your sights a little higher then, right? So then I guess it would be then to be a mayor. I mean, being a mayor is underrated. I remember speaking to a political strategist at the provincial level who said to me, I don't know why all these municipal politicians want to get into provincial politics when they should be going for mayor, because when you're a mayor, you live like a king, right? You get a lot of recognition, there's a lot of perks, and it's a great place to land, and you never have to leave your city. Not never is a bit of an exaggeration, but not really. You're there most of the time, and you do very well financially. Where when you get into provincial politics, or federal for that matter, there's a lot more, it's a bigger risk, right? And there's a lot more expected of you in terms of workload and travel and everything else. So why would anybody want to be an MPP or MP if they could be a mayor? So that was his take on it, and I don't blame him. It's funny, you would think that all my years working as a political strategist, people would say, well, at this point, you could just run your own campaign. Why don't you run? And it's like, are you kidding? Because I see what these people have to put up with, and I see what they have to do. And I'll just keep writing their speeches. Thank you very much. And I'm going to sit here and in my lair, in my home, never have to go anywhere, and just plan their campaign videos. That's good. I'm not door knocking all day long in summer heat. And you don't know what they go through. Even your average city councillor, even for a small town, you better love to read. I remember speaking to a city councillor once that said that, nobody prepared me for how much I'd have to read as a city councillor, because reports come in and, studies that you have to read and decisions. Now you have to make decisions about stuff that you're not educated on. So then you have to educate yourself. So you crash course on everything all the time as a city councillor, plus read the stuff they want to give you, plus constituent complaints and engagement, and then you've got to be seen everywhere, right? Otherwise it looks like you don't participate. So you have to be seen at all of the things all of the time. It's really a lot to put on. Even just a city councillor is a lot. So now you take all of that and put it on steroids, and now you have provincial and federal politics. So I think my first cautionary would be, A, you better love to read a lot, and B, are you sure? Are you sure you want to go down this road? Are you a workaholic? Because you better be. And is your family okay with you being a workaholic? Does your wife or husband, do they want to be on the arm of a politician, because there's a lot of responsibility on them too. They've got to be at the stuff too, right? They have to be in it or you're never going to see each other. So it's a team effort for sure. It's a family job. Being a politician is a family job. Even your kids, right, have to monitor their behavior for the public, because the press will be looking at what your children do too, because your children are a reflection on you. Your family is a reflection on you. So all of this stuff, you have to consider before you even step foot in the game. And the worst part about politics is that you have to put in all this time and invest a lot of money, because you've got to work on your PR. No one's doing that for you, right? So for a party to even notice you, to then make you a candidate, to get to that level, you've got to beat out every other person that is also putting money on PR and is attending all the things and whatever, right? So now you've got to do more than them. So it's a lot. It's a lot. So you're going to spend all this money and all these years. And I've known candidates that have spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars building up their portfolio and donating to the party they want to be a member of, and putting in all the volunteer hours, because you got to show that you're a team player. It can't just be all about you, right? So you got to do all of that. And then at the end of the day, they don't win. And some of them don't even get a chance to get to the place to run, much less win. So all of that was then for what? Well, that depends on whether you have a strategist on your side. So someone like me, for example, my job would be to help you take those losses. As a matter of fact, we go into it understanding you might be at a loss, and how do we leverage the networking you've done, the connections you've made, the profile you've built. How do we monetize that in other ways? Do we get you paid appointments? Could this stuff get you some awards that could up your profile, that could get you appointments? Could you write a book about your experience and publish it? Now, is this going to make you a top player in whatever industry you came from, because you have all this name recognition now? So there's ways that if you go into it knowing, hey, it's risky and I may not win, so what can I do with this experience to make this so that it's still worth it, even if I don't make it where I want to go at the end, right? So what can I do so it's still worth it? It's a whole different experience. But if you put all this blood, sweat, and tears in, as has your family, and you never for a moment considered that maybe they wouldn't pick you to run for them, or, whatever happens, the other party loses, you do get to run and you lose anyway, now what, right? So if you have the now what in mind, as you're going through the whole process, when you get to the now what moment, it's not devastating, because you always knew on some level, right? But when you go in blindly and see yourself as that MP or MPP, and that is the only goal you've ever given yourself, and you don't do your all, or you miss out on something, and then at the end of the day you don't get the prize, it could be devastating. Absolutely destructive, devastating. Those are the kind of losses that some people don't crawl out of. It makes them bitter and resentful and angry and depressed, and can sometimes take years for people to come out of that. And even when they come out of that, they don't make good with what they've done, so it was a big waste. So they're just filled with regret for the rest of the years, as opposed to saying, oh wow, I really learned a lot in that process, and it led me to this, which is fantastic. This is actually better than if I was an MPP, let's say. So, for example, my interest in politics, I love politics. It's a passion of mine, but I knew that because of some family history and personality traits of mine and things that I don't want or like to do, that I probably won't be a good candidate running for office ever. So because I never had that dream, my vision has always been looking at the entire forest, not just thinking about climbing a tree. So, I found a really comfortable place in communications. I make great money and I love doing it. So I'm in a happy spot and I never have to leave the house, and I rarely have to talk to people. So I'm ecstatic. This is perfect for me, right? So you find your little niche. Politics is a really big tent. So as much as I started this discussion saying, let's talk about whether you should go to provincial or federal, which we're about to do, I want you to leave room for all the other things in politics that are available to you. I know some person who is very committed politically. They love throwing parties. So they've become a very affluent money raiser, fundraiser politically, and that's what they do all day, every day, is just plan parties. That's their gift. But, it benefits the political party that they love, and they get to do what they love in an environment that they love. So they love politics. They love getting involved. They can't be a politician, but they get to do what they love, serving, the industry. Well, I want to say industry. It's not an industry, but you know what I mean. Serving the paradigm that they love, the ecosystem. They get to be a part of an ecosystem that they find a lot of passion in. So there's a big tent in politics, and there's a lot you can do, even if you don't end up an actual politician. But now let's decide. Let's say, well, that's all well and good, Daniela, and yeah, I'll keep all that in mind, but I want to be an MP or MPP. How do I decide which route I take? Well, that's going to be determined by a few different things. Now, we can talk about where your interest lies. That might be a good place to start. So when you're watching the news or you're abreast of the political things happening, on your watch, where do you notice your interest peaks first? What do you know more about? Do you know more about what your premier is doing or not doing? Do you know more about what legislation is being passed or what scandals are happening provincially? Or do you more, tend to federal things, right? Maybe most people are not equally divided between both. So even if it's just marginally, most people will have an affinity to either more provincial matters. So you're talking about your health, waste, housing, that sort of thing, the more practical side of things. Or are you looking more federal? And that's where you're looking at international relations, economic things, broader level stuff than the practical day-to-day stuff that people feel at the provincial level. So maybe look at it that way. Are you the kind of person that is very pragmatic and practical, and you need to see the results of your work, such as putting in housing plans, right? Dealing with people's health care on that day-to-day level? That would be provincial. But if you are more of a visionary and you're thinking of how we're perceived on the world stage, what we're looking like economically, our exports, our imports, our immigration, if you're looking at higher level, broader things that have your interest, well, then you're probably going to do better in a federal situation. But then you've got something else to consider that no one ever considers when they're deciding they want to go into politics. The people that come to me that say, I want to be a politician, they're very ideological. So the reason they want to do this isn't because that's a job they see themselves in, or it's a job they think they might want in terms of the day-to-day. They don't even know what the day-to-day is of that job. They have an obsession with policy, and they feel that they can make good decisions and push good policy forward. And most people don't think beyond that. So then when they come to me and say, I'm ready to be a politician because I have these great ideas and I'm so smart and I love people. And it's like, okay, well, that's fantastic. However, how do you feel about traveling? What does that have to do with anything? How do you do with sleep? Like, are you an early morning person? Do you need 8 hours of sleep? And they look at me confused. And it's like, no, bud, like this is the stuff that's going to decide whether or not you hate it once you get there, right? So let's make sure we put you somewhere that once you're there, like, I thought this is what I wanted, and now that I'm here, I hate it. I don't want that for you either. So if you don't want to have to go to Ottawa half of the time, and you don't want to be away from your family and your kids that often, federal's probably not the way to go. At least provincial, it's a few hour drive once in a while, that you have to get to Toronto, or wherever your capital city of your province is, that's easier than having to take a several hour drive or a plane ride and have to have a second residence in Ottawa because, your riding is so far away. So sometimes, I have seen politicians that is the deciding factor. It's not because of where their interest is or whatever, not their passion and all this stuff. No, it's actually because they don't want to have a second residence. They don't want to live away from home half the time. So if you don't want to do that, then federal is not the way to go. So these practicalities are things you have to consider before you even start to pursue things. So now we've decided, hopefully in your head, you're like, no, you know what? I'm always looking at what the premier's doing. I'm really interested in healthcare or whatever. Or no, I'm an economist. I'm interested in the economy. I'm interested in where we're going as a country. I'm looking federal. Okay. So now that we've got that, guess where we're going to start? We're going right back to municipal. So now that you've decided, what you want to do, what you need to find is the electoral riding association of your preferred political party, because your federal and provincial, they have different riding associations, because federal and provincial are separate. Although the party might be Liberal, Conservative, NDP, provincial, except for the NDP, the provincial and the federal parties are separate. So in that case, you've got to find the electoral district association of your preferred party, and you need to join it as a member, and then you need to start getting active in that association. Because here's another thing I see political people, they will catch a wave. So they've never participated in their electoral district ever. They probably up until now didn't even know there was such a thing they had to join, and except for when it came time to vote, let's say, and say, okay, well, now I'm here and I'm so wonderful, and here's my CV, give it to the premier or give it to our prime minister, they're gonna love to have me. And it's like, yeah, that's not how that's not how it works. You got to rise up the ranks, and you've got to start at the bottom. It's very few privileged people that are plucked out of the crowd, okay? We're not in the 80s where models get discovered walking through the mall with their mom, okay? Those days are over. So what you need to do is you need to join your local electoral district association, and you need to start volunteering. And you need to be the best volunteer they have so that they all know who you are. And you need to start bringing your talents for free to the table. And then maybe before next election comes around, you can convince them that you might be a contender. And that's hoping that there isn't already another contender that you have to beat. Because there may be, if you're catching the wave, there's probably a few other people that are too. And what if there's a candidate of record that everybody really likes? Now you've got to be the guy that unseats everybody's favorite, that has been at the electoral district for years and has volunteered and has put in the sweat equity and the financial equity that you never have. And now you think you're going to waltz in and just displace everybody and they're going to put the crown on you? Yeah, no, keep dreaming. Because people in that electoral district association have been on the grind for years before you got there. So you need to earn your keep if you want to get any shine on you. So figure that out right away and get started. Don't wait till the next election. So that's what you have to do there. And another way, again, to get attention is to maybe consider in the meantime learning the ropes a little bit through municipal politics. Get yourself elected as a city councillor. That puts you on the map, or get yourself an appointment in some municipal committees so people know that you exist, and start being very public with the things that you do, and work on your PR and work on your CV, but get very active within your party. And don't bounce either. So one thing that's a really strange dichotomy in politics is outwardly, when it comes to candidates, people, the public I'm talking, they don't like to see the same faces bounce between federal and provincial. So once you've labeled yourself to the public as a provincial, even if within the same party, a provincial candidate, and now you jump to federal, maybe because you didn't win the provincial, so now federal comes along and or vice versa, it doesn't matter the order here, the public sees you as an opportunist and as a political a career politician. Oh, you don't care where you go to get elected, you just want to get elected, right? That's the kind of attitude that you get. And that's even within the same political party. God forbid you cross the floor. You think that scores you points. It actually doesn't. It actually makes you look like someone that is not dependable or trustworthy on the long term. So people don't like that. So if you were to go provincial, federal, bad enough. Part in between different parties, absolute disaster for you. So take your time making up your mind, and working in municipal politics is already going to be hard. Like I said, municipal politicians are all shocked at how much they have to read, and how much they have to attend just to remain relevant for this job that doesn't even pay them enough a lot of the times to do it full time. So imagine, like, that could get really onerous after a while. So, if you could do that and say, you know what, I could do this and then more, then fine. Now you're ready to go to provincial or federal, and you have the time to see where your interest lies, especially as a city councillor, because you have to live the consequences of the decisions that federal and provincial politicians make. So you'll say, you know what, with everything that's happening federally, like, I think federally is where I want to be, or provincially, I see how these decisions impact this and in this area, like waste or whatever. I'm so passionate about it. So I'm going to go in provincially, or I'm going to go to the region and move my way up that way so that I can make a positive impact here. So municipal is a great way to learn the lay of the land, to learn the procedural rules, the ombudsman situations that you'll see come up from time to time, integrity commissioner stuff. You'll get all of that, so that by the time you get to provincial and federal level, you've already been well seasoned and educated, and you're not bewildered, right? So now you can just take on more, as opposed to starting from scratch and getting overwhelmed. So that would be my advice to anybody that is considering going into politics, is find your local electoral district association and start getting very, very active, and pay attention to where your interest lies. Do you again, federal, provincial, are you into healthcare, or are you into the economy? What are the things, and start to build from there, and start looking at the lifestyle of these people. Can you handle that lifestyle? Do you want to do the traveling? If you want to travel a lot, go federal. If you want to stay close to home, stick provincial. So these are the pragmatic. Take all the ideology out, because now this is going to become your day-to-day, every day. So take your ideology out, and all your dreams and your impact and all the la-di-da stuff that gets you all excited. And for 5 minutes, think very practically. Is this what I really want? Do I want to, have to be in hair and makeup at 6 o'clock to do the morning television shows by, 7 o'clock, and then have to be in the office until 6 o'clock, and then attend stupid events that I don't want to be at till 9 o'clock? Like, do I really want to do this day in and day out? And then if 4 years from now, instead of getting rewarded, I have to beg for them to let me do it all over again, and they won't. And unless I'm in for 2 terms, I don't get a pension. So what the F was all this for in the first place? Like, be ready for that. These are the realities of it, the practical realities that nobody considers when they get to me. When I get the new person that says, I'm going to build my portfolio to be political, it's like, then we got to sit down and have a conversation, because I don't think those words don't mean what you think they mean. So let's sit down and figure this out. And if now you have more questions than answers, no problem. Feel free to pass me an email at Daniela@blackrammedia.com, and let's continue the conversation. Have a great day, everybody. Go get 'em.